Ẹ kú kàlẹ̀ ń bẹ̀ wo ọkùnrin, obìnrin, ọmọdé àti àgbà olólùfẹ́ yín Ìbùkún Olúwa ọmọ Sànúsí tí ẹ mọ̀ sí Àpèkẹ́ tún dé pẹ̀lú àrà ọ̀tọ̀ àlọ́ tó kún fún ọgbọ́n, òye àti ọ̀rọ̀ ìjìnlẹ̀ Yorùbá. Ẹ máa bá wa ká lọ. Àṣà Yorùbá kò mọ̀ nípa ara.
Àkó àsìkò yìí, àkókò lè dá. Àkó bá ṣe ń bá mi bá ìtàn ìgbójú ọdẹ nínú ìgbórùn mọ́lẹ̀ bọ̀. Inú mi máa ń dùn, ara mi máa ń yá gágá ní ìgbàkúgbà tí mo bá tún fẹ́ mú ìtàn mìíràn wá fún wa. Lọ́sẹ̀ tó kọjá, a ti bẹ̀rẹ̀ ìgbà kejì ìgbójú ọdẹ nínú ìgbórùn mọ́lẹ̀. À ń bá a bọ̀. Bó ṣe di pé ó fi tipátipá da ojú obì dé, kó òbí bá a fọ rere fóun. Oríṣiríṣi. Ó ti doríkọ̀ ná ìgbórùn mọ́lẹ̀ báyìí o. Ẹ jẹ́ ká wo nǹkan tí ó rí, nǹkan tí ìgbórùn mọ́lẹ̀ ó fojú ẹ̀ rí. Dídìde tí mo dìde, ẹsẹ̀ òsì ni mo fi kọ́, ẹsẹ̀ ìyá mi ni. Ìgbàkígbà tí mo bá ti fi ẹsẹ̀ náà kọ sí nǹkan náà kò ní í dára. Eléyìí bà mí lẹ́rù díẹ̀. Bí tí mo sì ti dúró tí mo bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí ronú ẹsẹ̀ burúkú tí mo fi kọ́ yìí ní ẹyẹ ìwúrí kan fò kọjá tí ó sì fi ìyẹ́ gbá mi lójú. Bẹ́ẹ̀ ni, àmì burúkú pátápátá dáa ni. Mo dúró tó ìṣẹ́jú 10 lójú kan tí mo ń ronú àpẹẹrẹ búburú wọ̀nyí. Ní ìkẹyìn ṣá, mo gbé ikú tà, mo ní ọwọ́ ṣé ènìyàn kì í kú lẹ́ẹ̀mejì? Bí ikú bá pa mí, màá máa lọ. Mo tẹ orí mọ́ inú igbó yìí, mo ń wá ẹranko kiri. Nígbà tí ó pẹ́ náà, mo rí ẹranko, àgbọ̀nrín ni. Ibi ìdí ni àgbọ̀nrín náà kọ sí mi. Mo sì dúró bí ẹni pé kí ó kọ orí sí mi, ṣùgbọ́n kò ṣe bẹ́ẹ̀. Níkẹyìn, mo yín ìbọn lù ú. Ìbọn mi sì bá nídìí, ṣùgbọ́n kò pa á. Ó kì í ré mọ́lẹ̀. Wọ́n ń sá wọn kú lọ. Èmi náà sì mú àti àdá àti ìbọn mi, mo sá tẹ̀lé. Mo sá títí n kò bá a. Nígbà tí ó sì pẹ́ díẹ̀, mo rí ó sáwọ ihò inú àpáta ńlá kan báyìí. Èmi náà sì wọ ibẹ̀. Inú àpáta náà tóbi, ó sì ṣókùnkùn dúdú. Látìgbà tí mo sì ti wọ inú rẹ̀ ni kò sì ti rí ẹranko náà dáadáa mọ́. Irú ẹsẹ̀ rẹ̀ ni mo ṣà ń tẹ̀lé. Nígbà tí mo tilẹ̀ dé ibì kan, n kò rí ẹranko náà mọ́ rárá, bẹ́ẹ̀ ni kò sì gbọ́ ìró ẹsẹ̀ rẹ̀. Ó yà mí lẹ́nu bí ó ti ṣe rin àárín náà. Mo sì bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí ní wá kiri. Ìgbà tí mo ti ṣe díẹ̀ níbi tí mo ti ń ṣe yìí ni mo dédé rí tí ẹnìkan dì mí ní ọwọ́ ọ̀tún mú, tí ó sì lọ́ mi ní apá sẹ́yìn. Ó gbá mi létí. Ọwọ́ ẹni náà mú háíháí. Bí mo sì ti ń gbìyànjú àti gba ara mi lọ́wọ́ rẹ̀, ó fi ọwọ́ òsì dì mí lé ọrùn mú. Ó fún mi dandan, ó sì ń tì mí lọ. Gẹ́gẹ́, ó ń gbá mi létí bí ó ti ń lọ. Nígbà tí ó pẹ́ tí ìyà wọ̀nyí dùn mí, mo bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí ké wípé, jọ̀wọ́ fi mí sílẹ̀, n kò ní pa àgbọ̀nrín rẹ mọ́. Jọ̀wọ́ fi mí sílẹ̀, n kò ní pa á mọ́. Ṣùgbọ́n kò dá mi lóhùn. Ó ṣà ń tì mí lọ, sì ń fi ìyà jẹ mí bí ó ti ń lọ. Ìgbà mìíràn á já mi léèkán. Ìgbà mìíràn á kàn mí ní ìkó. Ó sí ohun tí kò fi ojú mi rí, bẹ́ẹ̀ ni kò tilẹ̀ kúkú rí, nítorí inú òkùnkùn biribiri là ń lọ. Nígbà tí ó pẹ́ díẹ̀, a já sí gbangba. Ìgbà yẹn ni mo tó wá rí ọkùnrin náà. Òun ga púpọ̀, ó sì ní ike ńlá kan lẹ́yìn. Ìpẹ́ ni ó bò lára. Ara rẹ̀ dàbí ara ẹja. Ó ní apá méjì, ẹsẹ̀ méjì àti ojú méjì tí ènìyàn ní ni ó ní. Ṣùgbọ́n ó ní ìrù kékeré kan ní ìdí. Ojú rẹ̀ sì tóbi púpọ̀. Ọ̀kánkán tó ti ẹni 6. Ó pupa bí ẹ̀yìn iná. Nígbà tí a já sí gbangba tán, ó sọ fún mi pé kí n bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí fi ọwọ́ mi ti orúnkún. Mo sì ṣe bẹ́ẹ̀. Ìgbà tí ó mọ̀ pé mo ṣe bẹ́ẹ̀ tán, ó bọ́ lé mi lẹ́yìn. Ó sì ta mí ní ìpá. Ó ní kí n máa gbé òǹkà bí ẹṣin. Mo fẹ́ bí mo kọ̀. Mo bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí ṣe léyìí pẹ̀lú. Mo fẹ́ kí ẹ mọ̀ pé ó ti gba ìbọn mi pàápàá lọ́wọ́ mi kí a tó ti inú ihò náà jáde. Ìgbà tí ó sì fi wà lórí mi tí ó ń gùn mí káwọn yìí, ọwọ́ rẹ̀ ni ìbọn mi wà. Inú pàápàá ni ibi gbangba tí a já sí yìí. Ibẹ̀ sì ni ìyà ti jẹ mí jù. Kí ó tó di pé ó gùn mí lẹ́yìn ni ó ti ṣe ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ pàṣán tí ó kó wọn lọ́wọ́. Ìgbà tí ó sì ti ń ta mí ní ìpá tí ó fi ibi tí n ó máa bá a lọ hàn mí tí mo sì ń lọ ni ó sì bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí rẹ́rìn tí ó sì ń da itọ́ ẹnu rẹ̀ lé mi lórí. Ìgbà tí ó bá rẹ̀ mí díẹ̀ tí mo bá gbé ẹ̀yìn sí òkè díẹ̀ á kó pàṣán bò mí, èmi á sì tún kí eré mọ́lẹ̀, èmi á máa sá lọ. Ìgbà mìíràn á sọ fún mi pé kí n máa yan bí eṣin. Ìgbà tí mo bá sì ń ké tí omi kò bá sì ti dàbí tẹṣin mọ́, á gbá mi ní etí léraléra. Ìgbà mìíràn á ní kí n máa sọ ohùn sókè bí ẹṣin. Ọ̀ràn dandan sì ni pé kí n ṣe bẹ́ẹ̀. Bí n kò ṣe bẹ́ẹ̀, á kó pàtì ẹ̀ bò mí. Bí tí mo ti ń gbé káyé ni a ti dé ibì kan tí ihò ńlá kan wà báyìí. Ibẹ̀ ni ó sì ti sọ̀kalẹ̀ lẹ́yìn mi tí ó mú okùn ńlá kan tí ó fi dè mí ní apá méjèèjì sẹ́yìn. Nígbà tí ó ṣe bẹ́ẹ̀ tán, ó wọ inú ihò náà lọ. Ó mú ẹ̀wọ̀n ńlá kan jáde, ó sì kì í bọ̀ mí lọ́rùn. Kò fún mọ́ mi púpọ̀ ṣùgbọ́n ó dẹ̀ tó ibi tí mo lè rí àyè máa mí dáradára. Lẹ́yìn eléyìí ni ó so ẹ̀wọ̀n náà mọ́ igi ńlá kan, ó sì tún padà wọ inú ihò náà lọ. Àṣé ilé ọkùnrin náà ni èyí ni. Ìyá rẹ̀ sì bẹ̀rẹ̀ nìyẹn o. Ó tó dédé agogo 2 kí a tó dé ilé rẹ̀ yìí. Nígbà tí mo sì rí pé ó wọ ilé tán, ó bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí mo mú ẹkún sun. Mo rọra ń sun ẹkún náà ni nítorí bí mo bá ké púpọ̀ ó lè bọ́ sóde kó tún fi ìyà jẹ mí sí. Nígbà tí ó tó agogo 4:30, ọkùnrin náà jáde láti inú ihò tí ó wà sí ọ̀dọ̀ mi. Ó fi ọwọ́ tẹ̀ mí ní ikùn láti wò bóyá ebi ń pa mí. Lẹ́yìn tí ó sì rí pé ikùn mi kò ju pẹlẹbẹ lọ, ó tún padà wọ inú ihò lọ. Ó mú iṣu tútù tí a kò sè, ó là á sí ewé, ó gbé e sílẹ̀ níwájú mi, ó pé kí n kúnlẹ̀ kí n máa fi ẹnu mi jẹ. Mo jẹ díẹ̀, iṣu náà kò sí lọ ní ọ̀fun mi. Mo bá fi yòókù sílẹ̀ ní tèmi. Lẹ́yìn yìí ni ó tú ẹ̀wọ̀n kúrò ní ọrùn mi, tí ó tú okùn kúrò ní apá mi, tí ó sì tún gún mi, tí mo tún bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí gbé káàkiri ní igbó yìí. Ó tó agogo 7 alẹ́ kí a tó padà sí ilé rẹ̀. Nígbà tí a sì dé, òun pàápàá jẹ lára iṣu tí mo jẹ kù lẹ́ẹ̀kan, èmi náà sì jẹ ìyókù. Lẹ́yìn yìí ni ó tún dè mí bí ti máa ṣe. Ó so mí mọ́ igi, ó wọ inú ihò náà lọ, ó sùn. Gẹ́gẹ́ bí èyí náà ti lè mọ̀, n kò sùn mọ́jú. Ni mò ń bò tí mo sì ń pọ̀ láti ṣe lọ́jọ́ mọ́. Èyí sì tún mi lánàá. Ó tún mi, ó tún gún mi. Bẹ́ẹ̀ mo tún gbé títí ọjọ́ ìbíjú. Níbi ó sì di alẹ́ ti padà sílé rẹ̀. Ó fi ẹ̀wọ̀n lọ́pọ̀ mi lọ́rùn. Ó so mí mọ́ igi.
Ẹ̀wọ̀n ọkùnrin, obìnrin, ọmọdé àti àgbà olólùfẹ́ yín ìbùkún olúwa ọmọ Sànúsí tí ẹ mọ̀ sí Àpèkẹ́ tún dé pẹ̀lú àrà ọ̀tọ̀ àlọ́ tó kún fún ọgbọ́n, òye àti ọ̀rọ̀ ìjìnlẹ̀ Yorùbá. Ẹ máa bá wa ká lọ. Àṣà Yorùbá ọmọ nípa.
Ẹ lè rò pé ó yẹ kí n ti gbára mi láti ọjọ́ yìí. Òótọ́ ni. Ohun tí ó jẹ́ kí ó rí bẹ́ẹ̀ ni pé àti ìgbà tí ó ti kọ́ mú mi ni ó ti gba ìbọn lọ́wọ́ mi. Ìgbà tí a sì dé ilé rẹ̀, ó gbé mi lọ sínú ihò. Ó tilẹ̀ gba àpọ̀dẹ mi pẹ̀lú. Láti ọjọ́ tí mo sì ti dé ibẹ̀, kò jẹ́ kí n wọ ilé rẹ̀ náà. Bí bá ti di pé a dé ibẹ̀, dídè ní dè mí mọ́ igi. Ìbá oògùn díẹ̀ tí ó sì kù ní ara mi ni mo ṣà, ṣùgbọ́n ọ̀kan kò jẹ́ nínú wọn. Ó pò ògèdè títí ọ̀run náà kò lójú. Nígbà tó wá pẹ́ ṣáá, bí tí mo ti ṣìnà yé mi, mo rí i pé mò ń ṣe oògùn ṣáá ni kò fi ti Ọlọ́run ṣe. Mo ti gbàgbé pé òun ló dá ewé tí ó sì dá ìgbò igi. Kí ilẹ̀ ọjọ́ kẹta tó mọ́ ṣá, mo ké sọ́lọ́run mo ní, Ọlọ́run ọlọ́jọ́ òní, ọ̀rọ̀ yín mà pọ̀ jù mí lọ. Bá mi ṣe é, bá mi ṣe é. Èmi ò máa lè nìkan ṣe o. Ọlọ́run jọ̀wọ́ bá mi ṣe é. Má jẹ́ kí n di ìjẹ fún ọkùnrin yìí. Má jẹ́ kí ó fi agbárí mi fọ́n fèrè. Má jẹ́ kí n ṣègbé sínú igbó yìí. Má jẹ́ kí n ti ìyín di èrò ọ̀run. Má jẹ́ kí n kú bí adìyẹ ti kú. Má sì jẹ́ kí ọkùnrin yìí jẹ mí bí ológbò tí jẹ èkúté. Bí eléégún bá bọ́ eégún títí, ọ̀dọ̀ rẹ̀ ni yóò bọ́ sí. Ṣàánú mi. Ọlọ́run Ọlọ́run jọ̀wọ́ yọ mí. Báyìí ni mo sọ ní òru ọjọ́ náà tí mo sì fi ọkàn tẹ́ Ọlọ́run. Nígbà tí ilẹ̀ mọ́ tí ọkùnrin yìí jáde tí ó tún gbé iṣu tútù fún mi ni Ọlọ́run fi ọ̀rọ̀ kan sí mi lẹ́nu tí mo ṣe ìbéèrè kan lọ́wọ́ ọkùnrin náà tí mo sì sọ wípé ẹ jọ̀wọ́ ọ̀gá, obìnrin yẹn má ṣàìsọ ìdí rẹ̀ fún mi tí ẹ kì í fi ṣe iṣu kí tó di pé ẹ̀ ń jẹ. Owó mi ti yànú sí yànú ó sì wípé wọn kò mọ̀ pé ohun kan wà tí orúkọ rẹ̀ ń jẹ́ iṣu sísè. Lẹ́yìn ni mo túbọ̀ láyé pé bí ènìyàn bá ṣe iṣu yóò dùn ju ìgbà tí ènìyàn kò bá ṣe lọ. Lẹ́yìn tí ó sì bí mi bóyá mo lè ṣe iṣu fún òun tí mo sọ fún pé mo lè ṣe, ó tú mi sílẹ̀. Mo dá iná, mo ṣe iṣu náà jiná, mo hó mo sì fún un kí ó máa jẹ. Nígbà tí ó tọ́ iṣu yìí wò, ó dùn mọ́ púpọ̀, ó sì bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí bá mi sọ̀rọ̀ dáadáa. Bí tí a ti ń sọ̀rọ̀ yìí, a sọ̀rọ̀ ẹ̀kan ìbọn, ó sì béèrè ìlò rẹ̀. Mo sì fún pé ohun ìgbádùn náà ni. Àti pé bí mo bá ti sí ẹnu ìbọn mi bo ẹnu ẹnikẹ́ni tí mo sì bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí fi ọwọ́ ra ìbọn náà ní ìdí, omi yóò jáde láti inú ìbọn náà sí ẹnu olúwa rẹ̀. Omi náà yóò sì dáa tó bẹ́ẹ̀ tí òǹgbẹ yóò gbé olúwa rẹ̀ mọ́ di ọjọ́ 7 gbáko. Nígbà tí ó gbọ́ báyìí, ó yára wọ inú ihò rẹ̀ lọ. Ó gbé ìbọn mi jáde. Wéré, ó fi ìbọn mi bo ẹnu. Ó sì ní kí n máa fi ọwọ́ ra nídìí. Ẹ̀yẹ fẹ́ fò. Wọ́n sọ kò sí ní ọ̀rọ̀ náà bọ́ sí o. Mo gbé ìbọn mi lọ́wọ́. Mo ṣá, ó dún. Ọkùnrin yìí ṣubú lulẹ̀. Ó kú. Ẹ̀ńtà fẹ́ sùn jẹ tó ń fi kú rárá. Bẹ́ẹ̀ ni mo rí ẹ̀yìn ọkùnrin náà, ṣùgbọ́n n kò gbọdọ̀ yọ jù bẹ́ẹ̀ lọ nítorí n kò mọ ibi tí mo wà rárá. Ohun tí mo kọ́ ṣe lẹ́yìn tí mo pa tán ni pé mo wọ inú ihò rẹ̀ ní lọ. Nígbà tí mo sì dé inú rẹ̀ tán, onírúurú ohun àlùmọ́ọ́nì ayé ni mo bá. Àwọn bí ìlẹ̀kẹ̀ ṣẹ́gi, iyùn, lágídígba àti àwọn onírúurú aṣọ bí àrán, sányán, àlárì, àdìrẹ àti àwọn kíjìpá tí ó gbẹ háú tí wọ́n sì lù ní ọrùn pópó. Mo tún rí onírúurú fìlà, àwọn bíi òkìrìbì, elétí ajá àti àkẹtẹ. Mo sì rí adé mẹ́ta tí a fi ìlẹ̀kẹ̀ ṣe. Bí ọba bá dé, wọn kò sí ẹni tí ó lè rí ojú ọba náà. Ìlẹ̀kẹ̀ yóò bó lójú. Àwọn adé náà dára púpọ̀. Mo bá ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ iṣu níbẹ̀ pẹ̀lú. Mo mú nínú wọn mo sì sè é. Lẹ́yìn tí mo jẹ tán, mo kó èyí tí ó ní lárí jùlọ nínú àwọn àlùmọ́ọ́nì wọ̀nyí. Mo dì wọ́n dáadáa. Mo gbé ìbọn àti àpò ọdẹ mi. Mo rìn ká bóyá màá jẹ́ dé ibi tí mo mọ̀ kí n kọ orí sí ilé. Ṣùgbọ́n kàkà kí ewé àgbọn rọ, pípele ní pele sí. Bí tí mo ti ń wá ọ̀nà ká, mo túbọ̀ ń ṣìnà ni. Nígbà tí ó ṣe, mo bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí gbọ́ ìlù láàrin inú pápá yìí. Mo sì kọ orí sí apá ibi tí mo ti ń gbọ́ ìlù náà. Láìpẹ́ mo dé ibẹ̀. Mo sì rí ìlù kékeré kan, ìlù àwọn iwin ni. Àwọn iwin wọ̀nyí yàtọ̀ sí àwọn tí mo sì máa ń rí. Bí ènìyàn ni gbogbo wọn rí, tọkùnrin tóbìnrin wọn ni wọ́n wọ aṣọ dáradára. Wọ́n dára bí ẹyẹ ológe. Lọ́jọ́ tí mo dé ìlú yìí, ọmọọba ibẹ̀ ń ṣe ọdún, gbogbo wọn sì péjọ sí àárín ọjà wọn. Ọba wọn pàápàá sì jókòó sí orí ìtẹ́, ó ń wo bí ọmọ ti ń jó lórí ẹṣin. Nígbà tí mo yọ sí ibẹ̀, gbogbo wọn ló bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí jó yí ọmọọba ká. Ijó náà sì wọ̀ wọ́n lára tó bẹ́ẹ̀ tí wọn kò fi rí mi. Ṣùgbọ́n ọba wọn ti rí mi bí mo ti yọ lọ́ọ̀kọ́. Wọ́n sì rán ẹnìkan tí ó dúró ní ẹ̀bá ọ̀dọ̀ rẹ̀ kí ó lọ pè mí wá. Mo lọ. Nígbà tí mo sì dé ọ̀dọ̀ rẹ̀ tí mo rí pé ọba ni, mo dọ̀bálẹ̀ gbalaja. Mo kúrú pẹ̀lú orí, mo sì kí i kábíyèsí. Lẹ́yìn èyí ni ó wí fún mi kí n dìde. Ó sì kọjú sí mi, ó bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí ọ̀rọ̀ sọ wípé ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ àwọn iwin tí ń bẹ nínú ayé yìí á máa kórìíra àwọn ọmọ ènìyàn. Wọ́n á máa dẹ́rù bà wọ́n ni. Ní ọ̀sán, wọ́n á sì máa lé wọn ká ní òru. Wọ́n á máa ṣáká wọn, wọ́n á sì máa dá sí ọ wọn. Ṣùgbọ́n èmi kórìíra àwọn iwin bẹ́ẹ̀. Èmi á máa bá àwọn ènìyàn mú ọ̀rẹ́ nítorí ọgbọ́n inú wọn. Nítorí eléyìí, mo fẹ́ kí o sọ ẹrù orí rẹ kalẹ̀, kí o jókòó sí ibi ẹsẹ̀ mi, kí o sì máa wo ìran. Inú mi dùn púpọ̀ láti gbọ́ ọ̀rọ̀ tí ọba yìí sọ. Bí mo sì ti jókòó tán tí mo ṣàkíyèsí pé wọn kò ní ìlú wọn dáradára. Mo tọrọ àyè lọ́wọ́ ọba jẹ́ kí n lọ bá wọn lù ú. Ó sì fún mi láyè. Ó ń fún olórí àwọn onílù pé kí ó gbé ìlù kan fún mi, kí àwọn yòókù sì dá ìlù tí wọ́n dúró. Wọ́n bá gbé gángan kan fún mi. Ìtàn ọkùnrin ti ń dùn mọ́ mi lọ ṣùgbọ́n mo ní láti dáni dúró báyìí nítorí ohun tó ṣì ń bọ̀ ó ju ń taari lọ. Mo wá fẹ́ dáni dúró títí ọ̀sẹ̀ tó ń bọ̀. Tí wọ́n ti dọ̀sẹ̀ tó ń bọ̀ ìtàn náà á tẹ̀síwájú. Títí ìgbà kan náà ńkọ́ Àpèkẹ́ Adé náà ló ń kí yín pé ó dàgbà.
Thank you very much for joining us today, and that is Sunday, the 7th of February, 2021. My own name is Samuel Oludare Jirokun. Right on the program today, we will be hosting on our consciousness, Mr. Taiwo Akinola, and that's going to be at 6:15. But before then, we'll be taking on our news highlights and, of course, parenting tips with Emem. Please do stay on with us. Well, it's all about the vaccination for COVID-19 this week. And the first one comes straight from Daily Records, and this is right here in Scotland. Nicola Sturgeon celebrates record number of vaccinations in Scotland. And straight from a BBC News, we've got this, which quite a number of people have been discussing and have raised concern about. That is passport vaccine. What we are having now is that ministers rules out vaccine passport in the UK. Right, and the last piece is right from The Independent, and that is UK towns with more immigrants do much better economically, study found. Right, taking it quickly from the first one, Nicola Sturgeon has announced a record 52,839 COVID vaccinations were carried out in Scotland yesterday. She tweeted that the number of people who had received their first vaccine dose now stood at 839,226 alongside a clapping hands emoji. That comes all the way from Daily Record. Nicola Sturgeon celebrates record number of vaccinations in Scotland. And coming right second, Minister rules out vaccine passport in UK. The government has rolled out plans to issue so-called vaccine passport to enable people who have had a jab against coronavirus to travel abroad. The Greek Prime Minister has said he will welcome British holidaymakers if they could prove they have been vaccinated. Vaccine Minister Nadim Zahawi told the BBC's Andrew Marr show that people could get evidence from their GP. Labour says vaccine passport may be necessary. The possibility of giving people vaccine passport to allow a return to international travel is being debated in the UK and elsewhere. That comes straight from BBC News under the caption COVID Minister rules out vaccine passport in UK. Right, and last but not the least on the news highlight for this week is straight from the Independent. And it's got UK towns with more immigrants do much better economically. Study finds British towns with the most immigrants and highest level of diversity tend to do far better economically than areas with little, a study has found. An analysis of local authorities in England and Wales shared with Independent shows a strong link between rising prosperity and rising diversity, with diverse areas doing better almost regardless of which metric you use. The study, commissioned by anti-racism charity Hope Not 8, is a challenge to negative perception of immigration and concludes that growing diversity is an inevitable part of increasing prosperity and potentially a contributor to it. That's from the Independent under the caption, UK towns with more immigrants do much better economically, study funds. And that brings us to the end of our news highlight for this week.
Hello, welcome to Parenting Tips with Emem. Our topic today is every effort counts. Yes, every effort counts because parenting is a marathon race of some sort. It's not a sprint. And success at it calls for patience, for diligence, for persistence, because there's really no singular activity or principle that you will suddenly put to practice that will land you as an accomplished, successful parent. The secret of success really lies in the series of small things done on a regular basis. These things eventually come together, converging into success. So don't despise your daily efforts as parents. Everything counts. Every effort matters. When you have to correct your children, it matters. When you have to discipline them, it matters. When you are teaching them, it counts. As you are educating them, it counts. Every effort towards raising our children well matters. There will be days that you will actually pat yourself on the back for a job well done. There will also be days that you will not be exactly thrilled by your efforts. The message that I'm bringing to you today is that you should not despise your efforts. Keep on doing what you know to be right. Everything will add up to produce the success that you desire. Like we have said, everything counts. Every effort matters. There are sacrifices that you may be making presently. Nobody sees it. Nobody notices it. Nobody appreciates it. but I want to tell you that they still count. They still add up, And it's also encouraging to know that God sees those sacrifices and the efforts that you are making to raise your children well, and He will reward you for it. So let's take a break right now, and I'll be back. Welcome back. This is Parenting Tips with Emem. We have been looking at the topic every effort counts. It's supposed to be a message of encouragement, to parents to keep on keeping on. Because at the end of the day, you will find out that God will crown your efforts with success. But you have to stay at your duty post. Don't give up on your children. Don't give up on the efforts you make to raise them well. We have already noted that success at parenting doesn't come by one sudden singular action. Rather, it's a convergence of all the daily efforts made. To further our discussion, let me share a few more thoughts with you. The first thing I'd like to talk about is that it's good to have a vision. Have a vision of what you would like to have your children, the way you'd like them to turn out. By the time they become adults, what values would you want to have successfully deposited in them? What will make you proud as a parent? What will make you feel that you have succeeded as a parent? Hold that picture in your mind and begin to work towards it. Set goals and pursue that vision. For instance, if you would like to raise your children in the way of the Lord, teaching them daily from the Word is key. By the way, I've written a book titled Leading Your Children to the Lord. This book is available on Amazon. Those who want to raise their children in the way of the Lord will really find this book instructive and helpful. So, that is it. You can go for it. It's also important that even as we are raising our children and we are keeping at it, doing what we are supposed to do, we should execute course correction from time to time. Because children respond to training at different paces. Some children are very compliant, others are more strong-willed. So keep your eyes on your goal and on your vision. Don't be discouraged. Correct and discipline as and at when due. Don't ever give up on your dreams for your children. Stay at it. Keep on working on it. Keep on being the good role model. Don't get tired of it. Keep on teaching your children. Keep on disciplining. Keep on educating them. Bearing in mind that every effort matters. So that is it for today. My name is Emem Esenenkat. I'd like you to join our online community on Facebook and on Instagram. The name to search for is Parenting Tips with Emem. Until next time, I'd like you to remain blessed and to remember that God keeps all of His promises.
Thank you and welcome to your program, Consciousness. As already stated on our social media handles, we will be speaking today with Mr. Taiwo Akinola. You are most welcome, sir. Hello, sir. Could you connect your mic? The microphone? Microphone. Just quickly, let's get that one done. Microphone not connected. Could you check the microphone, sir? Kindly check your microphone. Right, we're sorting that out and we'll be back in a short while.
Hello. Can you hear me now?
Okay, I got you now. You are most welcome to the program. Okay, thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you.
For our listeners, Mr. Akinola, Taiwo Akinola is a foreign policy and security analyst. He also wore many caps, and I believe he's still wearing many, but we'll come right back to that. I know that he's quite very passionate about the issue of Nigeria. So I'll kick off with the real meal for the day, then we'll come right back to actually look at his experience and journey through politics and engagement with governance in Nigeria. I'm kicking off with this one, sir. We know that correct analysis and diagnosis is very, very important in whichever sector, whether it's the medical sector, even in the business sector. Now, how important is critical analysis and diagnosis in resolving our problems in Nigeria?
Thank you for asking me that question. The very important issue is that absolutely impossible to get the right intervention strategy to any problem if you get the diagnosis wrong. We may be with intervention strategies that may compound the problem. Lots of energy will be wasted. As it is in the Nigerian case, we are aware that they are problems, but too many people could just not polish it, and that has resulted in wastages. And the core issue is that you cannot get the right intervention strategies, a problem that you cannot not diagnose and properly that is properly understood.
Thank you very much, sir. Many people have tried to pick what exactly is the problem with Nigeria. Some people have said it's leadership. Some people say it's the system. Even we've got to the point whereby we begin to ask whether it's the chicken that comes first or the egg. So in your own views and with your own experience, sir, what do you consider to be the actual problem with Nigeria?
I've read quite a lot of analysis, some of this a structural problem that is where the composition of the system of government, the makeup of the ethnic nationalities, that is the problem, and that Nigeria is suspended over two societies, the indigenous group, and you have in the Arab world, and you have part of the South interested in the European war, and that the European world is now a balance of power between the different ethnic nationalities. And you also have the second group who it's a stage in our development, just in the way teams go through different stages. The storming stage, the norming stage, and the performance stage. And many people thought we are in the storming stage in our nation building effort. Others also thought that the problem is that it is the power elite. But it's thought, both of thoughts actually believe that the Nigerian system is not working well. For example, Professor Graf Willem was of the view that harmony, cooperation, and unity are manifesting the characterized social and political life in post-independent Nigeria. He went further that he said whenever the Nigerian is echoing. Hello.
Hello. Continue, sir.
Oh,
we are hearing you, sir.
Okay. Professor Graf Williams, in a book titled "The Nigerian State: Political Economy, State Class and Political System in Era, 1988," he observed that harmony, cooperation, and unity have manifestedly not characterized social and political life in post-independent Nigeria. And he went on that whenever the Nigerian political system has most dramatically experienced breakdowns, constitutional crisis, political immobilism, civil war, this has always occurred within the context of inter-ethnic controversy. And he went on to say the phenomenon of ethnic ethno-nationalism, or as popularly termed tribalism, is a focal point in our politics. And the July and January 1966 military coup, the crisis in the Western region, the crisis involving Middle Belt, Ogoniland, and later June 12, and you could connect most of this with the ethnic balance of power problem in Nigeria. There is no doubt in mind that even though Nigeria is not immune from most of the problems associated with developing countries, corruption, lack of electricity, lack of manpower, poor educational system, lack of funding, but it's balance of power problem, that is the ethnic struggle, the struggle between the ethnic groups for power in a system that is lacking in ownership. There's a struggle for ownership. There's no authentic ownership of the Nigerian system, and there is even constitution to hear allegations that it was drafted by one ethnic group against the other. So as such, the need for each of the ethnic nationalities to have power, because that is the way they could influence their position in the society, is the core issue that has made the Nigeria very, very difficult. I don't think it's lack of resources. They are there, both human and material. But Nigeria is lot of that.
Oh, okay, thank you. Before coming to actually ask about how you come to that conclusion, I quickly want to ask this. Many people believe that during the 1960 to 65 or early 66, when we had the regional government in Nigeria, many people believe that there were quite great development, despite the fact that we have many ethnic tribes in Nigeria. So if you check that with your views, would there be any change that although even at that time, it was the many ethnic tribes that were in Nigeria, yet there were substantial progress across the country during the regional governments.
It does not change my views on that. The idea of regional government was to create viable socially, economically, and politically. And because they were viable, it was quite possible to have what was relatively a balanced federation, not the balance, but nothing compared with what we have today. Because what we have right now is being to turn a unit system in which only the power, the interest of a subgroup will substitute what is supposed to be the central interest, and that the development will be very, very difficult. If you look at the nature of Nigeria, Nigeria is not a nation of individuals. It's not even it's a national state. It's a collection of nations and ethnic nationalities, and there's you have big powers like Yoruba, Igbo, Hausa, Fulani. Then you have some middle powers. Then you have smaller power. So that's the reason why we made progress at the time, was that relatively there was some degree of balancing which allowed to move at their own speed. But now that we're having a system where one of the interest group is able to impose its own will on others, is proving very problematic. And that is one of the core objectives of balance of power. The push is the reason for getting into politics, because you need the power to influence your interests and the multiple among the other interest group. But when power taken away from you, then progress is not going to happen, and we're not witnessing one in Nigeria right now.
Okay, thank you very much. We will be coming back, listeners. We're still with Mr. Taiwo Akinola, a foreign policy and security analyst. So please do stay on with us.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome back. We still have our guest, Mr. Taiwo Akinola. You're welcome back, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah, at the first part, you did explain your views about your analysis of the Nigerian problem. And you believe that, yes, it's a multi-ethnic society where there is a struggle for power, which you term balance of power. Now, some other people too have spoken about this. Like I mentioned earlier, Some say it's structural. Some say no, it's leadership. We don't have good leaders. Some people said we don't have our political parties have no ideology, and you have people jumping from one party to the other without actually having a specific ideology, political ideology, which we know gives direction to political governance. Now, why do you think your views is correct?
Well, the issue of ethnic balance of power is not new to humanity. It was well experienced, and the Greek state, for example, as far back as 404 BC, when they were at our stage of development. And even in the United Kingdom, there are some example. Here is one here. The ethnic balance of power in the United Kingdom between the English, the Scots, the Welsh, and the Irish. And this is totally different from their class problem. And the Peloponnesian Wars between coalition of Athens and coalition of Spartans as far back as 4 BC, they are all balance of power problems. So when we said we have it in Nigeria, we're not making it up. Historically, it's always been there. I do wonder why for quite a long time conceptualize it or face that reality of the existence of ethnic balance of power problem in Nigeria. Because I remember somebody told me that it's a class problem. So I asked him to tell me the core class difference between the late Sir Ahmadu Bello and the late Chief Namidi Asikwe and Chief Obafemi Awolowo. The core difference between them is not even ideology, it's ethnic balance of power problem. Ethnic differences. I also asked the same person that General Obasanjo, General Santacina, or General Emeka Inoku of the Biafran. I said there is no class problem between the three. The core difference between them is the ethnic factor, and it is a reality we must face, because when you look at the way things are done in the country, even between the ethnic groups, you still have the regional, the ethnic differences among them, and they do appreciate this reality themselves in the practice to say, why should one ethnic group be able to do certain things and others not able to do it, even though they belong to the same social group? I do agree with you that a lot of political parties do not have ideology, but again, it is still because of this ethnic issue that majority of them find it very, very difficult not to belong to certain ethnic group or the other. Instead of having a political policy, it has not been able to do that, because that is the most important core center of loyalty at the moment.
Okay, thank you. You seem to have looked quite deeply into the Nigerian problem and the Nigerian states. And like I said, we'll come right back to your journey along the line later on in the program. So, and this conclusion, your conclusion, since when did you come to this conclusion? Is it recent, or is this something that has been way back?
As far back as 1990, actually. I did study the subject when I went to the London Diplomatic Academy, researching into the analysis of balance of power in Nigeria. It's true that quite a lot of people have reached different conclusions. Some said it's corruption, but I think even there are two types of corruptions in Nigeria. You have the the ethnic balance of power corruption, which leads to nepotism, which is a form of corruption, and it is the structure endangered by this ethnic balance of power problem that results in the corruption we said we are fighting. And I cannot see how we can resolve the problem of moral corruption if the ethnic balance of power problem, the problem of nepotism, just because you belong to one ethnic group, which is not as powerful as the other. I don't think we can solve the problem of corruption until we're able to solve this problem. So as far back as 1990, I've been able to study and to monitor the basic characteristics of Nigerian politics, and realize that in terms of intensity and scope, is balance of power problem is the most destabilizing factor in this effort to build a nation or a national state out of its collection of nations. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Your study of the Nigerian states, balance of power and Nigerian state taking the step to actually study about Nigeria, is this something, or was it something you've had in mind right from your school days, or it was circumstances in Nigeria that made you to go in for this study?
It was my concern for the country as a whole. I mean, my concern for the country. I was actually going for a pursuit of technology, but my mind was just not on it, and I was always asking the question, what's the problem with Nigeria? What is the problem with Nigeria? So this actually was the reason why I made up my mind to say, look, I am capable of understanding what this problem is, and I'm not going to give some time into it. It turned out not to be a bad decision, because it's not a problem that is going to go away too soon unless we understand the nature of it and be ready to take the right things forward. As I said, the one in Greeks at the time, that led to the Peloponnesian War, took almost 14 years to resolve. The United Kingdom won there since 11, was very, very active between 11th and 13th century. And you are still aware right now that there's a second stage in it where Scotland now say doesn't want to be part of the United Kingdom. Many people don't want to appreciate that there are more nations in the Nigerian state than the entire European Union. Yeah. There are more nations. Because, for example, I've heard people saying Yoruba is a tribe. I said, no, Yoruba is a nation, and it's got tribes such as Oyo. These are the tribes of Yoruba. You also have the likes of Igbo. It's a nation on its own. So Nigeria has got more nations in it than the state that we have in the European Union. It was an external body, the British, that brought them together. It was not that they agreed to do it on their own. And the interest of the British was built into it. And I think the British put together an balanced federation. It was quite possible to have a balanced federation without the wish of the British at the time, because by having a Midwestern, by having a Middle Belt as a region, if Middle Belt was a region at the time, that would have actually created a balanced federation in Nigeria. But the British manipulated the element of national power, which include the military, population, geography. For example, in geography, it allocated over 73% of the total land area to one region when it created 3 regions. Even when we had 4 regions, one still contains 73% of the total, over 73% of the total land area. And 51% of population was allocated to one region, not because there was any census to back it up. And then there was also the distribution of military and many other things like that. So the British was able to determine the superstructure that we are all trying to cope with today. For example, it didn't encourage much education in the north. Once it was very clear that it was going to give power to the Fulani, and it didn't want Fulani to be able to unite with the southern power elite who are educated. So the British created it, but don't forget that the British didn't come there to Nigeria for NGO. It came to Nigeria to colonize, in order to also achieve its own self-enlightening. It's enlightened self-interest. So we have to bear that in mind. But we are not mature enough yet to be able to reorganize and say, what can we do to ensure that all the stakeholders, which are the ethnic nationalities, feel safe within the state. And it's a big challenge, and that is why we're not making progress.
Okay, because that's one area that I was coming into, that when we talk about the British, many people believe that even if the British has done something wrong in Nigeria, and looking at the number of years that from 1960 when we got independence, the question people are asking is, why is it difficult for us to undo what the British did? I mean, if we know that what the British have put in place is not favoring us, I mean, it's causing bloodshed, is loss of life, of properties, insecurity. If we look at from the 60s right down to today, things are getting worse day by day. And people are asking that, does it mean we do not have the capacity to undo whatever has been put in place to destabilize the Nigerian state?
Thank you. Yes. First, the principle was based on divide and rule. Unfortunately, not because we don't have the capacity or the maturity yet. The group that thought they had some advantages wanted to keep it. They want to keep it that way. And therefore, we do not have a common yardstick for measuring what is good for all. So you have different sections thinking that I am benefiting from it and I want to keep it that way. You have others saying that we are not benefiting from it. You also have a group saying, let us do it for a common good. Yeah. But for example, a country like Switzerland is also multi-ethnic. You have the German group there, the French. You have out of sheer mature, they've been able to say, look, we gain nothing from fighting each other. Yeah, you have an Italian group there as well. That we gain nothing from fighting. Let us reach a settlement. They had some fight before that time. Now, Switzerland is the most stable multi-ethnic society in the whole world. There is no attempt whatsoever for any ethnic group to try and dominate the other. We still don't have the institution or the capacity or the maturity to do that. So as a result of that, yeah, I totally agree with you, or I will conclude that we still don't have the capacity. Even in analyzing the problem, there are those who find it difficult to even accept that there's a balance of power problem. And you also have those, even where they accept it, there are people who think the problem will simply go away on its own without some effort. So all this affects the different solutions prescribed by different interest groups. As I mentioned earlier on, the beginning point at solving a problem is to accept that a problem exists.
Yes,
We all totally agree that problem in Nigeria because in the midst of plenty, the, uh, the all problems was than what it was when I was younger. So the problems now will not be able to have a solution. The maturity is not there, the capacity to do it is not there, even the willpower to do it is not there.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Because what people are looking at, or what some people have said, is that if we look at the Nigerian state, the Yorubas have had the opportunity to lead the Nigerian state. The Igbo, those are the three major groups, although they still have others under them, but that the three major groups, they've had the opportunity at leading the state. But it seems that even with, all of them, the major ones having that opportunity, they've really not been able to fashion out any serious solution, even despite the fact that there were some couple of conferences where people are selected or elected or called together or appointed to talk about the Nigerian problems and fashion a way out. Lots of recommendations, have come out from those conferences or mini meetings, but to date, because the concerning thing is that it's getting worse day by day. What people are experiencing today, the number of people that continue to die day by day because of the governance issue. So people are like still coming right to that question, that why is it that when the Yoruba person was there, he wasn't able to resolve this issue? When somebody from the Igbo was there, he wasn't able to resolve the issue. And when we had people from the Hausa, Fulani North, the person wasn't able to resolve the problem. And people are looking like, even if we're talking about balance of power, as you are talking about, when these other groups had opportunity to be in power, why was it that they were unable to resolve the issue?
Okay. Don't forget that during the amalgamation, Lord Harcourt, who was colonial secretary at the time, to manage the unification policy, actually said that we have not migrated from the ages of treasury. It's about to effect an alliance with the South. It was a case of marrying the South onto the North. That was what he intended at the time. So you still have cases of the likes of Obasanjo coming into office, who was in office but probably didn't even have the power to change those things. There were things he could have changed, but he didn't have the power to change it. And Hiroshi tried to. Hiroshi was there. It didn't stay for long. I think the core issue. There have been conferences. The last one, under President Jonathan, the President Buhari got there and said, "I'm not going to implement it." And it has stayed. So I don't personally expect President Buhari to implement it. Or members of the Fulani interested in retaining power. Don't get me wrong. There are countries where they have a balance of power problem or even overbalance, like United Kingdom here. The English have the upper hand against the Scots, the Wales, and the Irish. That the English are able to lead from the front, and therefore they ended up building a very successful empire. If you go to Germany, the struggle between the stakeholders there led to the defeat of Austria. Austria used to be the power, the most powerful unit within the German state. But then when Bismarck came, his own Prussia defeated Austria in a well-calculated war, and then Prussia became the leader of the German state. Prussia went ahead to also defeat the French state and then became the power. But the core issue is that Prussia is able to lead from the front, and therefore the system is efficient. If you go to China, the Han's nation within the Chinese state, they enjoy the balance of power, but they are able to lead from the front. But in Nigeria, power is overbalanced to the most conservative, the least educated, and the least productive, which is the fairness. And because of that, it has not been able to lead from the front and make progress. And it seems as if the real attempt is at domination and conquest, so that if there is a concern that if there is progress, the others will challenge for power. So I think this has been a core problem, and the fact that the party that the British imposed on us have not been able to lead. In fairness to them, at that time they were even very, very concerned for independence. So we don't have the capacity to catch up with the maturity and the ability to come together and say, let's settle our differences. It's still not there yet. I totally agree with you, Obasanjo, and that's what they even complaining himself that I think he wanted to do that. So that was also a factor. Thank you.
Okay, listeners, viewers, do stay on with us. We're still with Mr. Taiwo Akinola. We'll be right back. Welcome back, and we still have Mr. Taiwo Akinola with us. I want to now move on to some of your past activities regarding Nigerian state, democracy, and other forms of activities. You were once with Dr. Beko Ransom Kuti, and that was in the June 12 crisis.
Yes, I did. I did work with the late Dr. Beko Ransom Kuti when he was the chairman of Campaign for Democracy. I was nominated by the New Nigeria Forum, where I belonged to at the time, to represent them at the coalition of a Campaign for Democracy at the time. Then I became the national chair, and I had the opportunity to work with Dr. Beko Ransom Kuti, who was a very, very great compatriot.
Yes, we know that during that era, June 12, when the election was, we can't even say the election, it was the result of the election was cancelled, where it has shown clearly that Chief MKO Abiola won the election. What you had with Campaign for Democracy,
Yeah.
like activism to install democracy in Nigeria. And we know from history, most of the people that took up the Nigerian government then, it wasn't an easy experience. Some people had to leave the country, and may God bless the souls of those people that lost their life through the hands of the state. Yes. During that period. How challenging was that period for yourself?
I was actually out of the country, went one of those who the country as a result of it. But there were still problems. For example, one time I led a protest march to German embassy to say that IBB should not be allowed to stay at the hospital there. 3 days after that, I don't know how they managed to know my residence. My car was taken, and they smashed it. I didn't see it today. So there were a few things like that we knew was happening, and there were also the needs to support some colleagues, and there was some traveling that some of us made that we don't have to discuss on the telly. But yes, it was challenging, but it was worth it. A sacrifice that we all have to make when the duty calls.
Mm-hmm. You're right. Thank you very much. And you also work with the great late Chief Anthony Nahoro. As a great statesman, and I mean, you were with him for about 3.5 years as his PA. So you know quite a lot about happenings in Nigeria around that time. You were, okay, let's take that of Chief Anthony Nahoro. I mean, he was quite engaged and he was vocal, and I mean, he's somebody that we can call the contemporary of Chief Obafemi Awolowo. How would you say is your time working with him, especially some of his own activities at resolving the Nigerian problem?
As I said earlier on, I was originally working with Dr. Beko Ransom-Kuti, and then somebody invited me to come and read some documents and produced by MNR, Movement for National Reformation. The person read some documents that I had produced before June 12 crisis and before the formation of Movement for National Reformation. So the person told me that he read a document produced by another organization that what I was saying in my document is similar to what what they were saying, and that the late Baba Omojola was interested in forming Movement for National Reformation, because at that time the late Paruwani had been assassinated, and some of the leaders of Nadeco had moved here. Professor Bolaji Akinyemi, Chief Oyegu, and few others like that. Chief Bola Tinubu, Dan Suleiman, and few others like that. They were here. So when I read that document, I thought the policy of Movement for National Reformation was more realistic at addressing the problem. That is a balance of our problem. So that was how I now made up my mind that I was going to leave Movement for National Reformation. But unfortunately enough, at the time, Dr. Beko Kuti was detained by Abacha, and I waited for some time for him to come out, just as a mark of respect. Later, when I told him I was going to change, I was moving to MNR, he wasn't very happy about it. But I told him that I was only telling him as a mark of respect, not that it could actually influence the decision. So we parted. He was a very, very nice and a great Democrat. So I moved with Chief Anthony Nahoro, and we got on very well, very well, policy-wise. There was this meeting of mine between us. He was also a great Democrat. I enjoyed my time with him. And he was very, very devoted to making Nigeria great, even though that didn't happen in his own time. But he gave it his life, even including his family. So he was a great, compatriot.
Yeah, thank you very much. Just coming back to that movement for national reformation. Do you think that the sort of solution? I mean, MNR did accept that the issue with Nigeria is balance of power. Yes. And I believe they might have come up with some solutions, proposed solutions at that time. Do you think that those solutions can still work with the present state we are in Nigeria?
Yes, it can still work. It came up with the idea that we need to have regions, again, that are viable socially, economically, and politically, and that the current state we have, probably less than 5 are viable, and that we could go back into, which is not as costly as the presidential system.
Yes.
It's also, if we have regions, then have premiers, then we could have states that won't have executive governance within those states, and that if those regions are viable, then they will be able to have some influence on what is happening at the center, so that the center is only supervising 8 regions, while each region can supervise the state within them. It will not be costly, and it will be much more easier to have viable states. That has been the position of MNR, and it's viable today as it was at the time. And at the end of the day, that's still the best solution, other than the dissolution of the country. But right now, the system is not viable, it's not stable. Insecurity is getting worse. The quality of life is getting better either. So, yes, I do sincerely believe that the solutions suggested by MNR then are still as viable as they are viable today as it was then.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll still go for a short break now, and coming back, we'll be doing the last bit. Thank you very much, viewers, for staying on with us. We still have this session to go, so please do stay on with us. We will be back. Yeah, welcome back. We're still with Mr. Taiwo Akinola. You're welcome back, sir.
Thank you.
I know for sure you will have heard about what is happening in the Southwest at the moment. That is talking about Chief Sunday Igboho and the Fulanis, asking the Fulanis to leave because of the issues that are happening, which they believe that the Fulani headers are complicit. In your own view, I don't think we should go into whether what is done is lawful or not lawful. It's actually coming around to why the headers, which are majorly the Fulani stock, why they've refused to actually look at their cattle rearing as a business where they need to secure their herd rather than driving them about and driving them into people's farm.
Yes, I totally agree with that. It is a private business, and I think Justice Thompson many years back gave a ruling that it was unacceptable that open rearing should be allowed and that they should be destroying the crops of the farmers. But the core issue here is that the attempt to run a federal state as a unitary state is behind the reason why we don't have regional police. It may not be state because some governors might abuse it, but we need regional police in order to be able to police the state effectively. But there are also people who sincerely believe that the herders are just being used as that is part of the balance of power problem that the Fulani, whether the Central Fulani or the ones that there is an open border to let them in the country at any time, because the Fulans want most of their Fula counterparts, wherever they are in the world, to be able to settle in Nigeria in order to increase their population again because of the balance of power issue. It is seen that the herders are actually being used to settle to dominate again, because if you look at the history of Middle Belt, there are quite a lot of such settlements, and it became a sort of political center of influence. So many people in the South are very concerned about some people in the may not have intentionally wanted it, but once they realize that it could be a means to achieving a political objective, I think they are not controlling it. And that brought about the likes of Chief Sunday Igboho coming out. Even for me, Amatekun. Amatekun, yes, because if Amatekun is effective, then the need for individuals like Chief Sunday Igboho coming out will probably not be necessary. There is no way we won't have regional security outfits, because the central system is not able to police effectively. And do you know that in the United Kingdom here too, the English managed to turn United Kingdom into a unitary state when indeed it's made up of 4 nations.
4 nations, yeah.
Yes, so what the Fulani is trying to do is similar to what the English achieved, even though right now, with the pressure coming from Northern Ireland, with the pressure coming from Scotland, the English is reversing it in order to have a stable society. But the Fulani are still very, very much interested in their domination, which could lead to conquest. And it's a big problem in the society. Again, part of this balance of power problem. Because the constitution so far, it has little or no legitimacy in so many areas. They're even saying when General Obasanjo came to office as a civilian leader, they didn't even see the constitution. So who drafted the constitution and who profited from not showing the constitution to the general public before election? So on what basis was that election had? So there are outstanding problems like that you could not have imagined, but it's actually it's happening in our society, which is very unfortunate. But my own general belief is that if we do not address the balance of our problem, but pretend to be marching forward, we will be negating all our positive input by sheer stupidity. There is a balance of our problem in Nigeria. It is the superstructure created by this ethnic balance of power problem that make corruption to be so rampant. There is no sense of ownership of the system, and people steal from it because they think, oh, it does not serve my interest. The common need it's no longer satisfied. Just one of the interest group that the rest are being forced to work for. So with this, there is no sense of ownership of the system, and that's breeding corruption. It's breeding inefficiency. And that will continue until we're able to resolve this problem. And that's one of the reasons where some states now, some nations within the state are going for referendum to say,
Yeah.
okay, if we're not benefiting from the association, why can't we be on our own? I mean, some of them can stand there quietly, and they're looking. Some of them are looking for a legitimate way of doing it without resorting to war. After all, many of the countries, Czech, Slovenia, and others, separated without the need to fight each other, and a few others like that. So they're looking at it. Unless we let common sense to prevail and we manage the situation, then it's not going to get better because we are ready to face the reality and manage it.
Okay, thank you. Because that's where I was actually coming to say that if we have an issue with balance of power, and those who believed that the power favors them are not willing to sit down and negotiate with others, is there other ways that we could deal with this issue without going to war? And of course, you brought in that of the referendum. I notice also you're a member of Yoruba Referendum Committee.
Yes.
And just like you mentioned, what the people are saying is that, okay, let's decide ourselves how we want to live within that contraption that is Nigerian state. I will ask, this referendum, I mean, it's been done, like you mentioned, in some couple of countries. In fact, over here in Scotland, where I am, it was done in 2014. And of course, they're hoping and pushing to have another referendum. How possible is this in Nigeria? I mean, among the Yoruba, and who actually should people be speaking to about Yoruba referendum?
Well, I've heard people saying that because it's not in Nigerian constitution, therefore it might be difficult. But the truth is that there is nothing in the Nigerian constitution that cannot be negotiated at the moment, because if there is consensus, then we won't have the problem we're having. So eventually, pressure will come from the different ethnic nationalities, and if that is what they want, of course, it should become part of the constitution. If Yorubas wants to do their own referendum, there's a need to campaign among our people and say, we want to decide on what to do, either autonomy within or the autonomy outside of the country, and then be able to tell the center to say, this is the decision of our people. The Igbo is working on it at the moment. I think South is doing the same at the moment. It could be a way to put pressure on the center. It could also be a way to say, okay, if they're not capable of changing their way, as we saw in Sudan, at the end of the day, it is Fula that is a landlocked. They are the one where without petroleum and many other things and manpower. If they are ready to forgo those things or risk everything, if eventually they lose it, good luck to them. If they don't lose it and they think they're smart enough to do it, they continue. But the constitutional needs to do it to hold a referendum should not be denied to anyone. If Scotland can do it, then it's a matter of political will and whether we can have it in Nigeria. Pressure can be put on, and it can become part of our constitution. After all, at the end of the day, there's nothing in the constitution at the moment that we say, oh, nobody can change, of course. Other interest group, if that's what they want, they can campaign for it and have it. Each ethnic nationality or based on the regional group should be able to hold a referendum to determine, because they're not just happy with the current situation of things, and they should be able to consult with their people to say, okay, What do you think we should do? That is the essence of referendum. If they now say autonomy within, yes, that's fine. If they say autonomy outside of the country, that will be their decision. Then they have to look at the strategies, mainly peaceful means of achieving it, and then informing the international communities about it.
Okay, thank you very much. And I think when we talk about Yoruba referendum, is something that should first go to the governors in the Southwest and the State House of Assembly. Am I right?
I think what when the late Chief Abraham Adesanya, the leader of Afenifere, wanted to get the state houses to pass a motion that we should have a national conference. Yeah, he went straight to the governors, to the House of Assemblies, and was able to influence them. I don't know whether that approach will be quite easy right now. My personal, I think we should first try to get the different Yoruba associations, groups, and individuals to sign petitions saying they want a referendum and put pressure on their representatives. And then from there, we can present it to the assembly. I don't think the governors, some of them are, at the moment, are quirky. Though it's difficult to say that at the end of the day, they send the people. If that is what the people say they want, of course, they will have to do it, or there'll be pressure to do it. So yes, it's a good idea to send a bill to the houses. It's also a good idea to combine it with talking to fellow Yorubas and talking to the different groups to sign petitions saying they want a referendum. So it has to be a combination of that, because some of the governors will be afraid that the central authority will think they are the one initiating it, when indeed that's not the reality. So in case of that fear, they will be able to point to the central authority and say, look, this is what the people asked for. It's not that I want it. At the end of the day, I'm only representing, or we're only representing the people, and that's their wish. With that, it will be easier to, if we put pressure on their representatives in the different houses, to get them to vote for and support referendum in their respective states.
Okay, thank you very much. And I do just like rounding up. I know you are not resident in Nigeria at the moment, but I believe that you know clearly things that are happening back at home. What would be your advice for the people? Just general advice on what is happening, the way things are in Nigeria now. What would be your advice, sir?
Well, things are quite bad at the moment, security-wise, economic-wise. So it's a bit difficult to even. Well, everyone to not wait that one person or two will solve this problem. All of us should see it as a common problem and make their contributions. Those who cannot run, walk. Those who cannot walk, but the worst thing to do, as Martin Luther King rightly said, the worst thing to do will be not to do anything. It is the greatest challenge of our time, and we are not the first society to experience this, but we must not just give up hope and think nothing good will happen. We have to be ready to make the changes, because the current situation is not conducive. That's not what we want, and we need to move things forward. Let's everybody get involved, not just the politicians. Let everybody actively get involved. See. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And I promise you this last one. I think this one is just coming right in. And it's like people asking that what can the youth do for now? The Nigerian youth.
The Nigerian youth need to get more involved and trying to understand what the problems and try to get organized. Organization is very, very important because when you look at their population, they have the majority, even though unfortunately enough, they have not been able to cut across, their working together has not been able to, I haven't seen enough collaboration across the ethnic problem, and which is one of the reasons why I think effort should be made to resolve the ethnic balance of our problem. Because when people do that, then the youths can see themselves as a unit, a majority one for that matter, and try to influence what is happening. They should try and cut across the tribal line. But in doing so, they must also not deny the existence of balance of power. You don't solve a problem by running away from it. You got to tackle it. They've got to face the reality to say this problem exists and say, what can we do? Let them go out and study what other countries did when they were faced with this problem at a stage in their own developmental processes as well. So that's my advice to the youth. Get involved, but not just go into the street to protest alone, but they should actually take the trouble to understand what the problem. Otherwise, they will be working hard but not working smart, and it's not going to solve any problem. Mistaking a balance of power problem for a class problem, it's not going to solve the problem. I've seen many people doing it in the past. They eventually come back and say, this is the nature of this problem. So they've got to be ready to tackle the problem, but face the reality. By denying it, they might think they're making some progress, but it's not going to last. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, sir, for coming on the program. We really appreciate your time, and hopefully we'll catch up with you at other times as things goes on. So thank you very much for coming on.
Thank you for having me. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Right. Our viewers, thanks for staying on with us. That is Mr. Taiwo Akinola. He's a foreign policy and security analyst. And he's been a first year of the campaign for democracy right in Europe, working under late Beko Ransom QT. And also, he was the first secretary for Movement for National Reformation in Europe, was also former PA to late Chief Anthony Nauru, and currently a member of the Yoruba Referendum Committee. He's on Facebook if you want to send any message to him, or if you direct that to us, or if you need his contact, we can supply that to you if you so need. Thanks for joining us, and that brings us to the end of the program for today, Sunday, the 7th of February, 2021. Remember, we are right on there on Saturdays. Our Saturday program starts at 3 p.m. That's every Saturday. And on Sundays, we start at 5:40 p.m. Thank you very much for joining us, and we'll catch up with you next Saturday. For those that are in Europe, stay warm. We had a bit of snow this morning. And for those of you that are in other places, please do hydrate yourself. Thank you very much, and God bless.
Abazire banja barungi nyowe kabire atari Yesu wanje akarima kwako mwine okakire atari Yesu muzima yakasenta kumwine nkakire atari Yesu wanje abana bozire okabire atari Yesu wawe omukazo mwine okamwire atari Yesu buzima omusizo mwine okamwire atari Yesu mazima lineho uyu linelelo mwana wanzeru lineho
lineho uyu linelelo mwana wanzeru ukaja mama wa amatengadzaje kusesa pakomo pamaiwaje
ukaja mama
early morning
amatengadzaje
kusesa pakomo pamaiwaje
magolo wali amuyamikira
akuti linelelo mwana wanzeru
magolo wali amuyamikira
akuti linelelo mwana wanzeru lineho uyu linelelo mwana wanzeru
lineho
uyu linelelo mwana wanzeru
agire gogo wanamadingo namuyamikira kuti namadingo mwana wanzeru agire gogo wanamadingo namuyamikira
kuti namadingo mwana wanzeru
simukuna
mako
talizina
malota ine bambo wanga tandisi
ndasalandeka talizina
mweni malota ine bambo wanga tamwalira
ndasalandeka gondo mama
gondo
une mama mwe
gondo
mama chalamanda
tafera moenda we gondo mama gondo une mama mwe gondo mama chalamanda utafera moenda we